welcome to the BRSCC Mazda Super Series. As you can see, it is pouring it down here, just in time for race 1 of 3. We have a guest driver, Ben Shaw, actually putting it on pole. Can he put it on podium as well? We'll have to wait and see. So Andy, we're going to hand it over to you.
Thank you, Lyndsay. Cars lining up then on a damp and greasy grid ahead of our first 20-minute race of the weekend here on the Silverstone National circuit. Here is how they line up, with newcomer Ben Short alongside Jake Bailey on the front row. Josh Jackson always in the mix. He's on row 2 with Stuart Simmons ahead of Sam Bailey and Alec Livesley, and Simon Orange and Richard Breland on row 4. Row 5 is where we find James Kell and Patrick Collins. Jeremy Crook and Rob Cox are on the 6th row. Simon Woods and Simon Fleet, the two Simons together on row 7 ahead of George Grant and Matt Pickford. Then it's Joseph Marshall-Burks and Ray Worley, Russ Lyndsay and Richard Norris, with Liz Walton rounding out the 21 car entry. Well, it's been fantastic to see more and more drivers getting involved with this great series as the year has gone on. And our first race here at Silverstone about to get underway. Pole position on the outside line here at Silverstone, because that is the, in theory, grippier racing line. And that's where Ben Short will attempt to launch off of pole position and hold the lead down towards turn 1, which it looks like he will do, with Jake Bailey in the dark blue class nodding through into second place. Josh Jackson is there in third. 3 abreast further back round the outside there in the 107 car is Sam Bailey, father to Jake Bailey, who's running up there at the front of the grid. He gets turned sideways, oh no! And he collects the 81 machine there. Complete innocent bystander was Richard Breland, and there's more carnage. Simon Woods there trying to avoid the melee and almost ends up in the wall. He will just about, though, miraculously get away with that without any major damage, but that was a real shame that that had to end in contact. So leaders make their way out of Beckett's for the first time. We're on the shortest of the 3 layouts here at Silverstone, the National Circuit, which always produces great racing there with the long straights, the wide corners, lots of opportunities to overtake. And already we're seeing a pass there for second place. Josh Jackson going up the inside of Jake Bailey and making a move stick. More side-by-side action further behind. That's James Kell in the green car. Simon Fleet in there too, and contact between Matt Pickford and Rob Cox. And Rob Cox gets turned around, and with broken left rear suspension, that will be the end of his race. And that's a real shame for another one of the debutants in the series this weekend. Rob has ideas of continuing, but as soon as he gets going again, he will realise, I think, that there's too much damage done to the back of that car to continue on his way. Right then, leaders come through at the end of the opening lap. Ben Short leads the way. Second place, though, now is Josh Jackson, so it's all changed at the front of the field, because into third position has come Stuart Simmons, who is also making his debut in the series. He's up the inside now for second place, trying to find a way past Josh Jackson, and closing in on the pair of them is Jake Bailey. But when we last saw them, Jake Bailey was in second position, so something happened towards the end of that lap there, I think. Josh Jackson will hold on to that second position for the time being, I think. Stuart Simmons, who's been racing in Mazda MX-5 for quite some time. This is his first appearance, though, in the Super Series, and he will slot in line in third position by the looks of it. Down the Wellington Straight they go, underneath the circuit bridge and down towards the complex at Brooklands, but the safety car is coming out, and I'm going to hazard a guess that that's because of Rob Cox's car being stranded in the middle of the road down here. Yeah, that's absolutely right. So there is Robert Cox's car. His race, as I suspected, is done. Racing resume, which does happen now. The green flags wave again, and immediately Ben Short has to go to the defensive inside line all the way in towards Copse Corner. Josh Jackson goes to the outside, but that means that he might lose second position here to Jake Bailey, who gets alongside through Copse Corner. But what about the drag down towards Beckett's? He will have the inside line again for the next corner. But where is the grip going to be on this ever-drying circuit? Josh Jackson we're on board with now on the outside line, heading down towards Beckett's. Jake Bailey, his sparring partner all year long, works his way through to second place, and now Stuart Simmons arrives on the scene and goes third, but then runs wide on the exit of the corner. That means that Jackson gets the run on him down the Wellington Straight, albeit on the outside line for the next corner. He's picking up a tow, though, from Jake Bailey's car in front of him, so I think he should be able to work his way back through into that third position, which he does. Is Simmons late enough on the brakes to attack? No, he's not, and in fact, he has to turn his attention now to defending from the 15 car of Alec Livesley, who tries to go around the outside, but can't quite make that one stick. Josh Jackson, remember, a triple race winner last time out at Alton Park, which more than made up for the disappointment of the previous round at Cadwell Park, where he failed to get a podium finish all weekend long. So Josh Jackson back on form again after that slightly out of character weekend, but he's running only third in this one at the moment, with Ben Short leading the way, Jake Bailey second, Jackson, as I said, third, Simmons fourth, Livesley fifth, and this leading group of 5 or 6 cars not really separating at all, as you would expect around this circuit. The slipstream keeps them together possibly more effectively than at any other circuit that we visit, because there are essentially only 4 corners on this circuit, and they're all joined together by long straights. So the slipstream not only keeps them together, but it presents by far the best overtaking opportunities, and that's what Jake Bailey is going to try and lean on now as he tries to find a way past Ben Short for the race lead. He's detached himself slightly from the cars behind, and indeed he looks to the inside line, and Jake Bailey could be about to take the race lead away from the former Mazda MX-5 champion in Mark 1 machinery. He's never won a championship in Mark 3s yet. Jake Bailey is going to come through to take another race victory. That will be his 4th of the season, but by a very slender margin indeed over Ben Short, just half a second separating them at the flag. Josh Jackson comes home 3rd, with Alec Livesley breathing down his neck at the flag in 4th position, and Stuart Simmons rounding out the top 5. Simon Orange is 6th, then Sam Bailey in 7th. There is confirmation of the result then. Jake Bailey wins from Ben Short, Josh Jackson, Alec Livesley, Stuart Simmons and Simon Orange. Jake Bailey worked his way up to 7th after that first lap spin, ahead of Jeremy Crook, James Kell and Richard Breland. Then it's Simon Fleet, Patrick Collins, George Grant, Joseph Marshall-Burks and Ray Worley, with our 2 retirements for the race, Russ Lyndsay and Robert Cox, both on the first lap of the race.
Jake, well done in that race. Was it just me, or did that dry up halfway through the safety car lap?
Yeah, it did really quickly. I think all teams, or we did especially, anticipate rain, and then mid-green flag laps it was bone dry, so it totally changed the game.
Did you go in a wet setup? Sorry. Did you go in a wet setup, or did you know it was going to be dry?
To be quite honest, I don't know. My car felt dry when it dried out, so I presume it went dry, but I left it to the team. Blink Motorsport done a really good job so far this year, keeping my car as fast as it can be. They didn't let me down this time either.
Brilliant. So have you got any expectations for race 2?
No, but I got my fingers crossed, and I'm hoping for a bit of rain because that'll make things a bit interesting.
Brilliant, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Day 2 here with the Super Series, and the rain's finally reached us. We've got Jake Bailey starting on pole after a win yesterday. Is he going to make it 2 out of 2? We'll hand it over to Andy to find out.
Yes, thanks very much. And this is a very wet circuit now for today's first race. Jake Bailey and Ben Short on the front row, ahead of Josh Jackson and Alec Livesley. Then Stuart Simmons and Simon Orange. Sam Bailey and Jeremy Crook on the 4th row. This is the order in which they finished yesterday's first race. James Kell and Richard Breland therefore round out the top 10, ahead of Simon Fleet and Patrick Collins, George Grant and Joseph Marshall-Burks, with Ray Worley and Simon Woods next up. Then it's Matt Pickford and Richard Norris, Liz Walton, and then our 2 retirements from yesterday, Russ Lyndsay and Robert Cox, who will both be hoping to make it beyond the end of the opening lap this time around. So the green flag waves at the back of the grid. This is going to be a voyage into the unknown, by far the wettest race we've had so far this year in the Mazda MX-5 Super Series, and it is Ben Short with Jake Bailey on the front row of the grid. The other way round though, from which they started yesterday's race. The lights go out, away we go, and it's an even start from the front few rows actually. Ben Short on the inside line, Jake Bailey on the outside line, and the grip in theory should be with Jake Bailey on the outside. For everyone else behind, it's a job just to see where you're going. Look at the spray being kicked up in the drivers' faces as they make their way out of Copse and down towards Maggots and Beckett at the front of the field. And I think it's Ben Short who has managed to get the lead. Yes, he has, with Josh Jackson up the inside of Jake Bailey in towards Beckett. He takes 2nd place away. Simon Orange is up there into 4th, ahead of, I think that was Alec Livesley and Stuart Simmons, 5th and 6th. James Kell there going around the outside of Patrick Collins. It is very treacherous indeed at the far end of the circuit. On board with Matt Pickford now, who's a bit further down the order, therefore has very little forward visibility. And there you can see why, because from the rear of his car you can see the spray that he is kicking up, also the spray being kicked up by the cars in front of him. It is very difficult out there this morning here at Silverstone, and that just is a testament to it as Stuart Simmons goes straight on down at Brooklands. He bounces his way across the grass. There are cars slithering and sliding all over the place, and at the front of the field I think I caught a glimpse there that we'd had a lead change. There are yellow flags out as well though, because we've got cars all over the place. George Grant's been on the grass. Stuart Simmons I don't think ever did quite rejoin the circuit properly. He was still on the grass as they arrived at Luffield, and it's all got a bit messy on the opening lap as we sort of predicted, but actually the drivers have done a brilliant job by and large to get through the first lap without any real contact. A few cars slithering off the road, but it could have been a lot worse, and it has all changed at the front of the field. Look, because Josh Jackson has now got the lead, Jake Bailey 2nd, and Ben Short down to 3rd. Now, we heard Josh Jackson say after his first race yesterday that they went with a full wet setup and the circuit then dried out, but I'm fairly confident that they won't need to worry about that happening in this race. I think it's going to stay wet all the way throughout the 20 minutes, and so a wet setup most definitely the way to go. Out of Beckett's they go. Josh Jackson, with a bit of experience, I suppose, with that wet setup, is now starting to make hay while the sun fails to shine, and he's pulling away from the rest of the field. Side by side for second, are we? Yes, Ben Short up the inside of Jake Bailey. He's late on the brakes, but Bailey tried to carry some speed around the outside of the road. Oh, and that is a huge moment for Simon Orange, who I was just about to say had been closing on those two and was about to start joining in the fun in the fight for third place, and then got it all wrong going down in towards Brooklands, and he was lucky not to wipe the two cars in front of him out. Those two cars are continuing to slither and slide their way out of Luffield, where it is Jake Bailey just about hanging on for the time being, with Ben Short still trying to get to the inside, but I do feel that the outside line is going to be the best place to go to make a move. Again, Short goes to the inside towards Copse Corner, though, and he's probably about to make a fool of me, isn't he, by going through on the inside. Yes, that's exactly what he does. Racing drivers have a habit of doing that, though, and through he goes, runs a bit wide on the exit, but he will make the move stick, I think. And so Jake Bailey loses second. In fact, Ben Short really made some good time through Copse Corner there. He's already on the tail of the race leader as they drop down into Beckett's corner again. This time he takes the wide line in, trying to carry the speed off the turn. The grippier outside line, grippier in the wet at least, is definitely the place to make some ground up through the long, slow corners, isn't it? Yellow flag still out down at Brooklands, though, so Ben Short, although he would love to make the move, stick up the inside again into Brooklands, he can't do it. Away again from Ray Worley at that part of the circuit, so a better exit, a better line through the corner there for Simon Woods than Ray Worley. That means that he's able to just pull a few car lengths advantage, but even in the wet conditions, of course, the slipstream still has an effect, and so Ray will now try and use that to reel him back in again over the remaining laps of the race. Back over the brow of the hill there. There is quite a hill that you can't necessarily see from that camera angle on the run between Copse and then Maggots and Beckett's, which is a downhill braking zone, braking through the left-hander to then send it into the right-hander as well, which adds to the complication through that part of the circuit. Both drivers get through there in one piece and continue now down the Wellington Straight once again. Race leaders though across the start-finish line, and Ben Short not quite shaking off Josh Jackson, but we're going on to the final lap of the race now, so Ben Short working his way now down towards Beckett's once again, diving up the inside of a back marker there. That's Matt Pickford in the yellow machine, also going a lap down. Ben Short, the last thing he needs is to trip over a back marker on the last lap. That should be the last back marker he has to deal with, though. There is another car off in the distance, but I don't think Ben's quite going to catch it before the end of this race, which is only half a lap away now, and he's done a great job of building this margin over Josh Jackson, not pushing too hard. Once he built the gap and sort of got a second or so in front, I think he was quite content to just sort of back the pace off slightly. Josh Jackson is who has the fastest lap actually from earlier on in the race. I think the rain has started to return with a bit of a vengeance though over the last minute or so, so track conditions starting to worsen again. Out of the final corner, Ben Short, well, he said he wanted a race win today, and in only his second appearance in the series, he's going to achieve it with race victory in race number 2 here on the Silverstone National Circuit. Ben Short sees the checkered flag and takes the race victory ahead of Josh Jackson in second place. Now, those two are going to round out this race, I reckon, about 20 seconds clear of anybody else. They really romped away from Jake Bailey and everyone else towards the end, and it was a fantastic performance by the pair of them. Short wins it from Jackson, and yeah, Jake Bailey 20 seconds behind, with Sam Bailey 4th and Jeremy Crook 5th. Then it was Alec Livesley, Simon Fleet, James Kell ahead of George Grant and Stuart Simmons, then Patrick Collins, Simon Wood, Joseph Marshall Burks and Ray Worley, with Russ Lyndsay in 15th place. Only the one retirement that time, and that was Simon Orange after his high-speed spin down at Brooklands in the early stages.
Josh, that looked like a tough race out there, especially with the aquaplaning right round Brooklands. How did you find it?
It was definitely very slippery. They've resurfaced it, but it seems just as bad as it's always been. We had a kind of a line car's width all the way around. If you moved off of that, then yeah, we started to aquaplane pretty bad. So, but no, it was good. It was a good race. Enjoyed it.
How did you manage to find the pace to get up to second?
Well, it's got off the line pretty quick. I was right behind him going into the first corner, and the car felt great from that one, so I pushed really hard, got to the lead. We had a big moment coming around Woodcote, and Ben managed to get past. And then we got stuck in a bit of the traffic behind Ben as we went through the back markers and things. So we lost a bit of ground, but we'll see what happens in race 3.
Lovely, we'll see you this afternoon.
Thank you.
You're joining us here in the holding area for the final race of the weekend, and the rain seems to have been downgraded to a slight drizzle, but the wind is holding strong. We've got Ben here who won race 2. You going to win race 3, do you reckon?
It's on the cards. I like the wet, and I'm starting to get used to the car now. So we only dug the car out from a shed a couple of weeks ago to sell to Mr. Riley, and unfortunately couldn't be here. This weekend. So I think he was trying to wind me up and was asking for discount if the car didn't do well. So hopefully this has proved to him that it's a quick car, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he competes in it at Anglesey in a few weeks' time.
So you're going to hold out on the price tag against this one then?
Yeah, I think it's going up in value as we stand here, actually.
Yes, definitely increasing its value, and if he can get another race win this time around, that won't do it any harm either. He starts from pole position because he won the previous race with Josh Jackson alongside, then Jake Bailey and Sam Bailey, father and son, on row 2. Jeremy Crook and Alec Livesley are on the 3rd row, ahead of Simon Fleet and James Kell on row 4. George Grant inside the top 10 on row 5 alongside Stuart Simmons, who should make progress. Then it's Patrick Collins and Simon Wood, Joseph Marshall Burks and Ray Worley, ahead of Russell Lyndsay and Richard Breland. Matt Pickford, Richard Norris, Liz Walton, Robert Cox, and our retiree from race 2, Simon Orange, at the back of the grid. So, cars lining up ahead of another 20-minute thrash around the Silverstone National Circuit in damp and greasy and slippery and slimy conditions. This could be very interesting indeed. It is pole position for Ben Short with Josh Jackson up the inside down towards turn 1. The lights go out, we're away and racing, and who will get the launch? It's a good one from Jackson. Ben Short starts from pole position this weekend, have not been brilliant, and he'll drop down into second straight away. Sam Bailey there defending from the rest of the field. I think that was Jeremy Crook trying to go around the outside. Simon Fleet and Stuart Simmons side by side too. But they're all safely through Copse Corner this time around, which is good news. 1 or 2 running wide. They're all out of the corner with no major contact. On board with Patrick Collins midfield as he finds one of the damper patches of the circuit offline down towards Maggots and Beckett's. Through the left, through this long, tight right-hander, and he's going around the outside of somebody. Not entirely sure who that was, actually. Simon Woods, I think that possibly is, that's up the inside of us. Yes, it is. And so Simon Woods will lose the position there. You can see again there, there's just the traction on the outside line, pulling Patrick Collins through. Simon now tries to find himself a spot in line, trying to get the slipstream down the straight as well, but charging around the outside is Russell Lyndsay. That was brave on the brakes. Up in front of us, there's someone running wide. That was, Stuart Simmons. That's a shame. Stuart Simmons, who started the weekend so well, but that's 2 races in a row now where he's run wide down at Brooklands on the opening lap. 2 races in a row as well where these two have done battle for the race lead, and Ben Short almost loses it coming out of Luffield Corner. That nearly went horribly wrong as he tried to get the car out of the turn, and it fishtailed around, and Josh Jackson gets up the inside, leans on him through Woodcote. Now that won't go down too well. Ben Short's going to try and fight back now around the outside down towards Copse Corner. Jackson on the inside, Short on the outside. The grip is with Short, the momentum is with Short, and the lead is with Ben Short as well. As they come out of the turn, Josh Jackson will lose a bit of speed out of the corner and possibly find himself coming under pressure from the cars behind, but no, not really, because again, Jake Bailey, the wetter it is, the more Jake Bailey seems to struggle. He's now got Jeremy Crook not alongside him, in front of him as they drop down in towards the right-hander at Beckett. Now Sam Bailey, his father's trying to get up the inside as well, and trying to take advantage of that loss of momentum. So Jake Bailey struggling a little bit in this one even. Josh Jackson though in second position, starting to close back in on Ben Short, who will have to defend down towards Brooklands, excuse me. And as he takes that defensive line on the way in, Josh will be hoping that he slithers a bit wide on the exit, which he sort of does, but neither of them have an abundance of grip as they go through the corner. And then in towards Luffield, where you sort of just have to follow the leader through here in these sort of conditions. Slightly wider line from Jackson, though. You can see he can get on the power a bit earlier, cut back to a late apex, and that was a beautiful example of how the wider you go through that corner in this sort of weather, the more grip there is, and therefore the more speed you can take off the corner. And he gets up the inside again through Woodcote, exactly as we saw a lap ago there. The inside line at Copse Corner didn't work that time around. Will it be more effective this time? He'll have to be a bit later on the brakes, try and do a bit of a slide job on Ben Short, which he tries to do. Ben Short gets run out onto the curb. Oh, this could go wrong if they're not too careful. if you catch that marker in the middle of a corner, you can sort of just drive around them. But in the wet, your options are slightly more limited, and they are going to catch Pickford at the busiest part of the circuit through the Brooklands and Luffield complex. That's definitely held Jake Bailey up a little bit. He goes to the outside though into Luffield, which will be the grippier side of the road anyway, and Josh Jackson's going to go with him. Now, is that possibly going to split the two of them, or has Jackson been able to go around the outside of Pickford as well? Sort of. In fact, no, he gets a decent exit from the corner, so it didn't really hold either of them up too much. Coming through now onto yet another lap here of the Silverstone National Circuit. This will be the 16th lap of the race, and it will be the final lap of the race because the last lap board has now gone out, and Josh Jackson has just one more lap, 5 more corners to try and find a way ahead of Jake Bailey. That's one of those corners gone, and he didn't get a good exit particularly there from Cobb's corner, so that probably means that the next corner won't be an opportunity for him to go through either, really. So it's going to come down to the last few corners on the lap, I think. Jake Bailey hanging on. If he gets a good exit from Beckett's, then that's part of the job done, really, because Josh Jackson won't be able to get close enough to get fully alongside, and there may well still be yellow flags out down at Brooklands. It looks like they've gone in now, so you are allowed to race here, and Jake Bailey therefore has to defend the inside line on the way into the corner. Wide line in for Jackson. Look at the curve that Jackson's taking there to try and build this final attack. He might as well go to the inside at Luffield. There's no good following Jake Bailey on the outside line. They'll just both come off the corner at the same speed. But as it is, I don't think he's going to be able to do it. It will be, again, a drag race to the start-finish line. But Jake Bailey looks as though he's going to hang on to take his first, he says, a second race victory of the day. Across the start-finish line he goes, and he wins race number 3 here at Silverstone from his season-long sparring partner, Jake Bailey, in second position. And there's quite a gap back to Sam Bailey, but he does come through in third position with Ben Short fourth. Well, a post-race penalty applied to Jake Bailey means that Josh Jackson inherits the win, meaning we've had 3 different winners in the 3 races this weekend. Sam Bailey is second and Ben Short third, whilst Jake Bailey drops down to fourth with a 10-second penalty and a 3-second additional penalty as a series penalty on top of that. Patrick Collins, the only non-finisher from the race, and it is a race victory for Josh Jackson.
Josh, you had both Baileys closing in on you there, and Jake just got you on the last bit.
Yeah, Jake just got the last little bit. Yeah, no, he drove well, so yeah, well done to him. Shame we couldn't win and won, but we'll move on to Anglesey and see what we can do.
Perfect. So is the track quite greasy out there still? Any corners you were struggling with?
Yeah, it's all pretty greasy. It was easier in the rain, really. So the rain would have been nice, but same for everyone, isn't it? So.
Brilliant. Well, congratulations from us.
Thanks.
Sam, that was great driving for you out there, and first podium of the weekend.
Yeah, no, really enjoyed it. Yeah, it was tricky conditions. It was greasy. It was tricky to know what was going on. I was watching the 2 front runners, thinking, what can I learn from them? But it was different every corner. It was hard, but enjoyable.
So were you praying for rain halfway around that then?
Pretty much, yeah. All them 2 to fall off, and then I could be on the top step.
Brilliant. Well, are you coming back for Anglesey?
Absolutely, can't wait. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you.